Can you remember when you felt most alive in the world? Think about it. Try to see it. Feel it. Just after I was born, a personal tragedy struck my family. My older sister, Janet, a concert pianist, died unexpectedly. Just as I was coming into the world, she was leaving. And no matter how hard they tried to conceal it, I grew up surrounded by others' grief for a sister I didn't even get to know. When I was 7 and on a family vacation in Florida, my dad introduced me to a mini ice rink. He said it was a bunch of ice cubes pushed together and you walk on it. Well, I laced up and got on the ice, but instead of walking, I began to glide. Now, gliding was a brand new sensation. It's like moving without moving with these 2 butter knives underneath your feet. Well, it was right here on this slippery surface that I felt most alive in the world. I felt free and I felt transported. And when I pushed away from the barrier, leaving my family's grief behind, what I didn't know until years later was that I was actually gliding toward my true self. Now, it didn't happen overnight. It turns out that 10 minutes from my house in Delaware, there was an Olympic training facility. And once I got into this club, I got to skate all the time, every day, before school, after school. I got to compete and perform and train with the best in the world. But guess what? What was most important was that I got to be exactly where I felt most alive in the world, on the ice, gliding with speed and flow. Now, I'd jump and I'd fall, and I'd jump and I'd fall, and I'd jump and I'd fall hundreds of times. But after continuous failure, I would stand up with ease. With each leap of faith, I was learning so much about myself. Not what others put on me, but in this arena, I was discovering that I was resilient, that I was graceful, that I worked hard, that I never gave up. And this powerful new narrative stuck with me precisely because it was connected to this experience of being connected with myself and my true power. Now, by 16, it was clear I was not going to make any Olympic team. In fact, I didn't think I was going to make it at all. This was approaching the age my sister was when she died, and I quit everything, including skating, just in case. I knew that life could turn on a dime and death could sneak up on even the best of us. So as irrational as it may seem, for that year I planned for the worst. Now, as you can see gratefully, nothing happened. Except I was thrust into this uncharted territory. My skates found a permanent home in the back of the closet, and there was no ice in sight, except maybe a few cubes in my drink. But I just kept breathing every day, one day at a time. And as I finished high school and into college, without ice, there was a big void. I remember commiserating with my friends at Brown and with other athletes. But what I knew was that if I could feel the loss, the ending, perhaps many losses and many endings, and find some acceptance, then I could move forward, see new possibilities. I knew somehow inside me that if I let it, life would expand far beyond the barriers of an ice rink. And college proved to be that broader arena where I could explore new ideas and new disciplines and new worlds through politics and through journalism. A solid academic foundation opened many more doors. I became a documentary filmmaker. My first job was at CBS News. Now, for several years in my career, and I enjoyed it, something completely unexpected happened. A skating opportunity crossed my path. I'd heard about some boys in East Harlem who were learning ice hockey, a stereotypically white sport. And they told me there were some girls that wanted to figure skate. Would I teach them? Well, come on. Seriously, that wasn't a hard one. I loved to skate. I couldn't wait to get back on the ice, so I simply said yes. And I went to 120th Street to the basement of a church and met some girls who had some used skates. Together, we walked down Malcolm X Boulevard to the edge of a rink. And some of the girls were so afraid even to get onto the ice. But when they pushed away from the barrier, I watched as they felt it, the glide. These dozen girls were moving across this slippery surface with 2 butter knives underneath their feet. Now, they carried burdens too. Some had suffered loss, others neglect, but all had felt the burden of negative stereotypes put on them by society for their gender and the color of their skin. But gliding forward and feeling free and alive like I did, they could leave these burdens to the sideline. And session after session, I began to see as they transformed before my eyes. They stood straighter. They looked more confident. They fell down and they always got back up, again and again. And stroke by stroke across this white sheet of ice, they were creating a new story for themselves. I am resilient. I am graceful. I'm a hard worker. I never give up. And this new vision for themselves, well, it stuck with them and it melted away all old belief systems like girls of color don't ice skate or I am not enough. What I saw was an entire ice surface filled with proud, empowered young women of color. By simply saying yes to this chance opportunity, I got to see how the ice could be a safe place for even more girls to experience a connection with themselves and their power and feel alive like I did. Well, their parents and the community saw this too, and figure skating in Harlem was born. Hundreds of girls from Harlem and Lower Bronx, well, they came to feel the joy of skating, but more important, they cultivated the skills and inner self-worth that would last a lifetime. Education, however, has proven to be the heart of our mission. And, well, when 7-year-old Florence Gala came through our doors, after she'd been turned away from another after-school program, we gave her a nickname, Flojo, because when she flowed across the ice, it was with tenacity. But in order to thrive, she had to focus academically. So with the help of figure skating in Harlem consistently and over time, she eventually got into an elite private school, graduated from college cum laude, and after skating, she found a second passion, photography, which most recently has been showcased on Vogue.com. Today, a powerful sisterhood exists at figure skating in Harlem with our students and our alumni. What was once an I experience for me in a country club, elite, expensive, mostly white sport is now this amazing we experience for girls in Harlem and now in Detroit, where we have a new program. For 20 years, more than 1,000 girls of color have come through our program and been guided by hundreds of talented and dedicated staff. And together they form bonds around education and skating. And a culture of academic success was created where now 100% of our graduating seniors go off to college. Colleges like Georgetown and Spelman, Mount Holyoke and Howard and Barnard. Alums like Sherry Smith, Mei-Ling Jabbar, Scarlett Jimenez, they are not Olympians, but they are passionate, self-possessed individuals working in fields as diverse as finance, law, engineering, and teaching. I'm still amazed when I think about how 2 chance opportunities not only transformed my life, but more important, allowed me to get to know and support beautiful girls who become empowered, accomplished young women who are thriving and changing other people's lives. And what they taught me is that we're all beginners at something. And with perseverance, we get to discover what we're really made of. So I ask you, when and where do you feel alive? Take a moment. Glide into it. See it. Feel it. Go across its surface and into its depths, because it may not be where you think it is. But if you pay attention, you might want to go where it leads you. In the wake of my sister's death, skating was my first passion, where I felt totally alive. The only cold place in the state of Florida, an ice rink. When I hung up my skates, I thought it was over. I am so glad that I stayed open to the opportunity to take my passion and share it again in an even more unlikely place, Harlem, where girls are transforming their own lives and even changing the color of ice. Will you let yourself be open to where you feel alive? Will you glide into your power, which is just a connection to yourself? And are you willing to share that with the world and unleash limitless possibilities for growth and self-discovery in others and yourself? Look, I invite you to pay attention and to delight in the ever-evolving, ever-unfolding journey of life that I know for sure glides toward grace.